equipment in. I ordered the Reef Octopus Biopellet Reactor, and then I got an Eheim 1000 pump to run it, and that came with some biopellets. And then I got some carbon, got the bulk Reef supply carbon. So a gallon of it for like $13. Couldn't find that price anywhere. And then I got a container here for my DI cartridge. Instead of separating my DI resin every single time I recharge it, I'm going to run 2 different cartridges for my DI resin now. I got enough of it accumulated so I can have 2 different cartridges for my DI resin. So this time when I separate my cation from that anion, I'm going to run my cation in one canister and then my anion in the next canister, so then I don't have to separate them when I go to recharge them. I only have to run the muriatic acid through the cation and then the other acid through the anion, so I don't have to separate them. It'd be a lot quicker and easier. And then I finally got a controller for my aquarium, the Koralia. It's the Koralia Smart Wavemaker. It's also got like a feed mode. And right now I got the pumps on opposite for 5 seconds, so it creates like a different current in the water in the tank. Because with both pumps on, there was just way too much flow in my tank. So now each pump kicks on for 5 seconds back and forth, so it's not too much flow, and it causes kind of like a chaotic flow back and forth. It's not near as good as a real wave maker, but for the price of it, it works fine. It's all I wanted for now, so we'll see how it does. And then my heater broke on me. It seems like the heaters for aquariums only work for about a year. So this time I went ahead and spent a little bit more money and got a titanium heater. And then the titanium heater, you have to use a controller for it. So I got the JBJ True Temp controller for it. And it's controllable and you can calibrate it. So I got it set on 78, and when I first hooked it up today, you can see it says it's 78.7 degrees inside the tank, and I got a temperature control, or a temperature thermometer in there, and I guess you can't really see on the camera here, but it's actually right on, so I don't even have to calibrate it. And then I'm going to run the titanium heater down into my sump, so it's not up here. I just got to get a long extension cord to run it into the basement. But the titanium heaters are supposed to last a lot longer, so hopefully I'll have a lot more success with this thing. Hopefully I don't have to buy a new one every single year. Hopefully it'll last. This Reef Octopus reactor, it's pretty neat how they have it set up here. It's pretty solid, real thick acrylic, and it actually has like a cone in the bottom. I guess that directs the flow up around the edges of the granules, so it creates more of a flow in there, keeps the biopellets tumbling. And then let me take it apart here to show you guys how they have it set up. It has like a top plate. So that's how it gets, you tighten down each one of these, and that tightens the plate down to keep it watertight. It's got a seal here to keep the water tight. And then this is the outlet. Just has a bulkhead on it with 3/8 barb on it. And then this is the down pipe that directs the water down to the bottom of the reactor. And then it has this screen here that keeps the biopellets from coming up and coming out into the aquarium. And the screen's not small enough to where it's going to cake up on you and you don't have to clean it out near as much. So it looks like it's going to work really well. And then this is the intake tube with a 3/8 inch barb on it with a bulkhead on it, so it's easy to change out. So then you just fill this canister up with the biopellets, and then I'm just going to hook it up to the E-Heim pump, which has a control on here for the flow. So I'm probably going to get around 300 gallons per hour. That's probably where I want to keep the biopellets tumbling. So I'll get it set up here and show you guys how it's set up. I got the biopellet reactor set up here. It's tumbling good now. I got the smaller reactor, so I'm running the most biopellets that I could fit in here. And you can see it's still tumbling really well. I have 400 milliliters of biopellets in there, and that's about the most that this thing can handle. As you can see, the biopellets are clear up at the top there. It took a little while to get the pellets to tumble. What you have to do is just let the pellets soak for about 24 hours in RODI water, because then they'll sink a lot faster. And then you stick them in there and start the flow out really slow, just to get the air bubbles out. And then once you get the air bubbles out, you can start turning it up. And what I had to do to keep the pellets tumbling is you had to pick it up and move it left and right and kind of bounce it, so the biopellets fall to the bottom, kind of break up, so they don't clump up. And then that breaks them up and keeps them flowing well. So now that it's set, I just let it sit, and next couple months it'll set the bacteria up and start using up the nitrates and phosphates in the tank. I got some Microbacter 7 just to aid the bacteria, get it started, so it'll work quicker. So we'll see how it works. I just got the pump in there, and this switch right here, you move that up and down to create more flow. So when you first started out, you started out real slow, and then slowly increase it until the biopellets start tumbling. But if you go too much flow, then all the biopellets just go up to the net, to the edge of the net here, and just get stuck, and then they won't tumble. So you got to get just the right amount of flow just to get them all to tumble. And make sure you do soak them for 24 hours before you start it up, or else you'll never get it to tumble, because the biopellets will float. And it'll take about 2 hours for all the bubbles to get out of there. So every like 15 minutes I come down here and just shake it back and forth a little just to get the bubbles up out of there, because the bubbles will make the biopellets float. But it's working pretty well now, so we'll see how it does in the system. Now 300 or 400 milliliters of biopellets is rated for 100 gallons, but my tank's about 150 gallons, but since I'm running my algae scrubber, I don't think I'll need as much biopellets, so I'm just going to go with 400 milliliters for now. But one thing you've got to make sure is the outlet of the water coming out of the reactor. Make sure you put it right at the intake of your protein skimmer. So I have the hose going right down to the intake. Because if you don't do that, there's a film that comes off of biopellets, and that film is really nutrient rich, and it'll stick to your live rock and your sand, and that'll create algae to grow. So it takes away nutrients and it creates nutrients also. But as long as you have a good protein skimmer, it'll drive all those nutrients and that film out of the tank so it doesn't stick to your sand and your live rock. So I'll keep you updated and let you guys know how the biopellets work and how my nutrient levels are. You can see my tank is creating lots of nutrients. My algae scrubber's growing lots of algae. But I got some new fish, so I'll stay tuned for an update on all my new fish and coral frags that I got for my new 120 gallon.